Hey guys! Today by using some simple examples, I want to show you how to mask in Moho. Also I'm going to cover some problems with mask, multiple masks, and creating a mask inside another mask. Let's go! Okay, let's talk about what mask is. First I'm going to draw a circle. I'm holding down the Alt and Shift. Then I hit the Q, select a yellow color for it. So let's call it Y, stands for yellow. I'm going to create a new layer. Let's call it R, stands for red. And draw a red circle next to it. I'm going to hit the T key and move it to the left. To mask some layers, you have to create a group for them. In order to do this, you hold down the Control and select all of the layers. Then right click on them and choose group with selection. And then a group will be created for your layers. I'm going to click on somewhere to confirm its name. Then to apply the mask, you right click on that group and choose this option, mask inside bottom layer. So now because we applied the mask to this group, you can see a circle next to it. And we have another circle here and a plus here. Whenever you see this circle next to your icon, it means that you apply the mask to this group. And every sub-layers in this group is going to follow the rules of that mask. And these icons means how they're going to follow the rules. These plus and circle icons has their own names. If you right click on every layer, you can see their names. So right now the bottom layer is going to add to your mask. It means that every shape that you draw in this layer is going to define the area for your mask. So after that, if you have a shape in that area, it will be shown. But if a part of that shape is outside of that area, that part will be invisible. Or for example, if you have another shape completely out of this area, it will be completely invisible. As you can see, the red is set to be mask this layer, which means that if you draw something in this layer, the parts of it that are inside this area are going to be shown, but the rest of it will be invisible. So now if we move this layer, you can see that it only shows the parts inside the yellow circle. If you choose this layer, rather than adding the shapes of this layer to your mask for defining this area, it's going to show the shapes that you draw in this layer. Because rather than having this area as our masked area, we also have the yellow shape itself. If you want to draw in this area and keep their shapes invisible, you can right click on this layer and choose add to mask but keep invisible. We still can see a transparent yellow circle here, but Moho is just showing it to us for our own understanding. If we select the other layer, you can see that the yellow shape is invisible, while the shapes in yellow layer are trying to only show the parts of the shapes that are inside them. They are invisible themselves. So now by moving this yellow circle, we can only see the part of the red that is inside the yellow circle. And if I hit Ctrl R, the result would be something like this. If you want to make the yellow one visible, you can just right click on here and choose add to mask. And now if I hit Ctrl R, you can see that we have them both, but we still applied the mask and we can't see the part of the red that is outside of this yellow circle. So let's close this one and let's call this intro, and I hit the enter and move this to somewhere on the left. And now I'm going to draw a mouth. Let me create a new layer. I call it mouth and I hit the enter. Then I hit Q, choose a black color for it, maybe a gray one. I hit the T key. Let's hold down the Control and delete this one. I'm going to hold down the Control again and select these two. Then I hit the C key, select this one. Then I hit the T key. Hold down the Control and click on somewhere to deselect the points. By holding down the Control, I'm going to drag to select this point, move it a little bit to somewhere down here. Then I hit the Q, add more width to our shape by clicking on here and typing something like 8. Then I add a new layer. Let's call it lower tooth and draw a rectangle for it, maybe a white one. Then I create a new layer. Let's call it upper tooth. And I draw another rectangle for it. Now by holding down the shift, I'm going to select the bottom layer, right click on them and choose group with selection. Let's call it mouth again. I'm going to hit enter to confirm, then right click on the group and choose mask inside bottom layer. And it's going to only show the part of the teeth that is inside the mouth, and the rest of it will be invisible. If we double click on a group and go to masking tab, from here you can access all of these options. These are the same options that we can access by right clicking on a layer. So let's say we double click on this group and go to masking tab, and I move this window to the left. A cool feature in Moho is that you can quickly switch between every layer and see their layer settings. So if I click on this layer, it will go to masking tab of this layer. So I click on the mouth to go to the masking tab of the mouth, and let's move this window to the right. Now if I choose exclude strokes and click on apply, we can see the stroke around our mouth. So the most common usage of this option is for your bottom layer of your mask to keep the strokes around your mask. Now I can click on OK to close this window. And let's say we want a layer between lower tooth and upper tooth. To create a layer between these two, you have to click on the bottom layer. And after that, if you create a layer, it will be on top of the layer that you selected. Let's double click on it and call it something like tongue and hit enter to confirm the name. Then I'm gonna hit the S key to select the draw shape tool, and then I draw a tongue. Let's hit Q and select it and choose a red color for it. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the control and select these two. Then I hit the G to select the select point tool and click on a split to add a point in the middle of this line. Then I hit the T key, hold down the control and select this point. Then I hold down the shift and control at the same time and select this point to add to my selection. Then I hold down the shift and drag this to move these 2 points vertically. Then I hit the C key, hold down the control and drag to select this point and click on here to make it smooth. Then I hit the T key, select these two and maybe scale them a little bit. By holding down the Alt, you can do it symmetrically. In the cases such as this, if you want to move the tongue out of the mouth, you can right click on the tongue layer and choose don't mask this layer. So while it's not gonna follow the rules of your mask, it will still be between these layers. So you can have some layers in your mask that don't follow the rules of your mask. Let me hit C and make these 2 points smooth. And now if I hit the T key and hold down the control and click on somewhere, I can freely move this tongue out of this mouse. Anyway, it doesn't look like a mouse, I know, but consider this that I'm not teaching you drawing. I'm teaching you how to mask, okay? So let me select the whole group and move it to somewhere next to our previous one. And how about drawing a sword? I'm going to create a new group, call it sword. Then I hit the enter to confirm the name, and I hit the S key and draw a rectangle. I hit the T, hold down the control and select one of the points. Then I hit the delete key, move this one to the middle. I'm gonna hold down the control and select these two. By scrolling up, you can zoom in, and by dragging from one side and holding down the Alt, you can do it symmetrical. Then I hit the S key, add two other shapes. Then I hit the Q, select this one. By hitting the down arrow key, I can move it to the back of all of the shapes. Then I select my triangle and choose a gray color for it, maybe a light gray. And after that, I hit the home key to reset the view. It's time to hit the S key and draw a circle. So I'm gonna select the circle and draw it. Then I hit the Q and choose a green color for it. Consider this circle as a body or shield, and we want to attack it using this sword. So first let me move this shield to another layer by hitting the T key, and because it's already selected, I can hold down the control and press X to cut it. Then I create a new layer, let's call it shield. I hit enter to confirm its name, and then I hold down the control and press V to paste the shape into this layer. Now that we have the shield, we can hold down the control and select both of these layers, right click on them and choose group with selection. Let's call this group war and then select the sword. If I want to attack the shield using this sword, as soon as it goes through the shield, the part of the sword that is inside the shield will be invisible. So we need a mask somewhere around here. But instead of defining an area to show our shapes in, we have to define an area to make our shapes invisible. So let's right click on the war and choose mask inside bottom layer. Let's move the shield to the bottom of the sword so we can have it at the back of our sword. And then we right click on it. We choose don't mask this layer because we don't want the shield to follow the rules of our mask. And then I right click on the sword and choose mask this layer because we want to define an area to show this sword in. And then I create a new layer to define that area. Let me hit the S key to select the draw shape tool. Then I right click on this layer and choose add to mask because we want to tell the Moho that this is the layer that we want to draw our area in. And then I draw a huge rectangle. Let's right click on it and choose add to mask but keep invisible. But as you can see, we still can't see this word. It's because this one is gonna apply to those layers that are above this one, not below it. So I can move it to the bottom. And now we have this word. Let's call it battlefield. Then I make a copy from the shield by selecting it and choose duplicate. Let's call it hide sword. And then I hit the enter to confirm. Let's right click on it and choose subtract from mask. To subtract from a mask, first we have to have that mask. So we move this battlefield to the bottom so it can then subtract hide the sword from it. And now if I select the sword, hit Ctrl A to select all of the points and move my sword, you can see that as soon as it intersects the circle, the rest of it will be invisible. We can select the hide sword layer, hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere to deselect all of these points. And then by moving this point, you can tell them how much of your sword is going to be invisible. Let me move this point to the left a little bit and check the final result. And you can use this trick to show that a shape has gone through another. Let me select this group and move it to the left. One important thing about this one was that you have to be careful if a shape has the plus icon or the minus icon. Moho is gonna read them from the bottom to the top. So in this word example, it first added the battlefield mask, then it subtracted the hide sword from it, and then it decided where it's gonna show this word. But for the shield, because we set it to don't mask this layer, it doesn't follow the mask rules, and it just works like this, that if something is on top of it, it's gonna be shown on the shield. Otherwise, it's gonna be at the back of it. So now since I'm gonna create my new layer on top of this group, I have to select this one. So the new layer will be created on top of it, and then I go to new layer and choose vector, and I call this t-shirt and hit enter to confirm the name. And let's draw it. I'm gonna hit the S key and draw a rectangle. Then I hit the T key, hold down the Ctrl and select these 2 points. Then I hit the G key, click on split to add the point in the middle of this line. I'm gonna click on it once again to split it into 4 lines. Then I hold down the Ctrl again and select these 2. And by holding down the Ctrl and Shift, I can add to my selection. I click on split to split them. Then I hit the T key, hold down the Ctrl and select these 2 points. Then I hold down the Shift and move this to the top. I hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere. And let's move this point to somewhere down here. I hold down the Ctrl and select all of these 3 points. Then I hit the C key and select the smooth. And by hitting the A key, I can add some points to it. And let me enable the sharp corners because otherwise it's gonna add a smooth point to it. So I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and enable the sharp corners to add some sharp points to my shape. Then I hit the T key and adjust these points a little bit. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this t-shirt. So now in this example, I'm gonna add a texture to it by creating a new layer. Let's call it texture and hit enter to confirm this name. Before I teach you how to add this texture, I want you to know that you can add your texture by clicking on the t-shirt, hit the Q, select your shape, and from here, you can choose image texture. And by clicking on this option, you can choose an image to select it as your texture. And by clicking on open and OK, the texture will be applied to your layer. But the problem with this one is that if you hit the T key and want to move one of these points, the texture won't move with your t-shirt. In order to do that, you have to use mask. So that's why I'm giving you this example. Let me hit Ctrl Z. Because of this red rectangle, my shape is selected. So now I can remove this texture by going to here and click on plane. Then I select the texture layer, hit the S key. Let's choose a darker color and draw some rectangles. I'm gonna hit T by holding down the Ctrl and hitting C. You can copy this shape, and if I hit Ctrl V, I can paste it. By holding down the Shift and dragging, I can move it vertically. And now if I hold down the Ctrl and press A, I can select all of these shapes. And then once again, I'm gonna hit Ctrl C and Ctrl V to make a copy of it. Let's move it to here and repeat that action again. Yeah, that's it. By holding down the Ctrl, I can click on somewhere to deselect the shapes. And then I hold down the Ctrl and select the last one. Because I don't need it, I hit the delete key. And now I'm going to hit the Q, click on select all to select all of the shapes and remove their strokes. Let's hit the T key, hold down the Ctrl and press A to select all of them and move it a little bit upper than this. That's it. Now I'm going to hold down the Ctrl and select the other layer. Right click on them and choose group with selection. Let's call it t-shirt again. And then I hit the enter to confirm the name and right click on it and choose mask inside bottom layer. And since we want to keep the strokes on, we can double click on the t-shirt, choose masking and choose exclude the strokes. By clicking on OK, we can have our strokes back. And this time we can simply select our texture. And because all of these points are selected, I can simply hit the G key on my keyboard and choose a split to add a new point in the middle of these lines. And then if I hit the T key, hold down the Ctrl and select these middle points. And by dragging from one side and holding down the Alt, we can move our texture. Let me hit the C key and make them smooth. And hit the T key again. And as you can see, we can move our texture easily. Now I'm gonna add a logo to this t-shirt. So I'm gonna select new layer and choose vector. And let's name this one logo. I hit enter to confirm the name. After that I hit the S key and choose the circle. Then I drag from somewhere around here. I'm holding down the Alt to draw from the center and Shift to make it a pure circle. It's okay. Let's hit the T key and move it to somewhere around here. This time I'm gonna add a new layer. Let's call it star and hit enter to confirm. Then I hit the S key, select the star and select this color and draw it. In this example, we want this star to be masked inside this circle. But the problem is we already have a mask called t-shirt that we use for our texture. If we want to use subtract from mask to subtract these triangles, it also removes the texture. So can we create a mask inside a mask? The answer is yes. You can right click on your logo and choose clear the mask, then add this layer to it. If you choose it, after reading this and create your t-shirt, it's going to ignore that mask and create a new one, which is this circle, and then it draws your star inside this circle. If you want your circle to be invisible, you can right click on your logo and choose clear the mask, then add this layer invisibly to it. Now rather than considering this circle as a mask and draw the star into it, it's going to make the circle invisible for you. You can now hit the T key and change the size of it By holding down the Alt, you can do it from the center. And that's it. Now you know what these options are. Let's talk about different ways of masking a group. When you're doing your projects, there are some situations that you want to quickly ignore the mask without changing these settings. And by mask, I mean the first mask that you apply to your shapes, which in this case is the t-shirt. There is an option in Moho that ignores the first mask, which is this one, the t-shirt, without changing the setting of any of these layers above it. To use it, you have to right click and choose mask outside bottom layer. Now as you can see, it subtracts our mask and shows the rest of it, which is our texture. If you want to be in this state and have the t-shirt at the same time, no problem. You can right click on your t-shirt and choose add to mask. And now, rather than having the t-shirt, you also have your texture. To go back to your normal mask, you have to right click on your t-shirt and choose mask inside bottom layer again. And all of these options will go back to the settings that you've set for them before. If you want to completely turn off your mask, you can right click on your group and choose no group mask. And now if I go back to mask inside bottom layer, it still remembers the setting that you've set for them before. You can also access to these three options by double clicking on your group and going to masking tab. And this option is the normal option, which is going to be mask inside bottom layer. And this one is going to be mask outside bottom layer. And this one is going to be this option. Now let's talk about the last thing. As you know, if we want to create a mask inside a mask, we have to use these two options. But is there another way? Let's talk about it. I'm going to move the t-shirt to the right and create a new layer. Let's call it red and hit the enter. I'm going to hit the S key, select the circle, then I choose the red color and draw a circle. Now let's create a new layer and call it yellow. I'm going to select the yellow color and draw a new circle next to it. Let's hit the T key and move it a little bit to the right. And hold down the control and select both of them, right click on them and choose group with selection. Let's call them red, yellow. I'm gonna right click on it and choose mask inside bottom layer. Or another way is to double click on this group, go to masking tab and choose hide all instead of no masking in this group and click on OK. Now we have a mask, but let's say we want it to be a mask inside another mask. So we need to create a new layer. Let's call it pink and select the color for it. And now I hit the S key to select the draw shape tool and draw another circle here. Now let me minimize this group by clicking on this option. And then I hold down the control and select both of them, right click on them and choose group with selection. Let's call them red, yellow, pink. I'm going to hit enter to confirm. Then I right click on this group and choose mask inside bottom layer. I can't see nothing, but if I hold down the control and press R, it works. Since we have a plus icon, this should be the area of our mask, and then we have all of our shapes in that mask. So don't trust what you see here when you use this method. If you hit Ctrl R, the result will be correct. But if it's so confusing for you and you want to see the result in the editing view, and also if creating a group is not necessary for you, you can use the other method that I used for the logo in t-shirt example. Now let me talk about how we can keep the strokes around this circle, because we don't have the stroke anymore here and here. See? I'm gonna close it and double click on this group, and I go to masking tab. And since it's a group and not a layer, we don't have exclude strokes option here. What do? There are a lot of ways to add a fake stroke around your shape, although when it comes to animate your shapes, it brings some problems. So I would highly recommend you to use the way that I taught you in t-shirt example. But if this is the way that you've gone to exclude the strokes, I'm gonna click on OK. Then I open this group by clicking on here. Let's double click on red. Go to masking tab and exclude these strokes and click on OK. I just wanted to show you that if I hit Ctrl R, we still can't fix this part. So let me close it and duplicate the red. Let's call it fake strokes. I hit enter to confirm the name. Then I hit the Q, select the fake strokes, remove its fill, and let's move it outside of this group next to the pink. We don't want this layer to follow the rules of our masks, so we right click on it and select don't mask this layer. If I hit Ctrl R, we have this layer below the pink layer, but you can see some part of it as a 1 pixel line here. To remove this, I'm going to close this one and double click on this group and go to masking tab and check the expand mask by a pixel and click on OK. Now if I hit Ctrl R, those 1 pixel lines will be gone. Anyway, we wanted the fake strokes to be at the top of pink, but I wanted to show you that using this option we can solve the 1 pixel problem. I'm going to remove it and click on OK and move the fake strokes to the top of the pink. And if I hold down the Ctrl and press R, you can see that we have the strokes around our shape. So this is how you can create your fake strokes. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.